Hello, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been thinking of signing up for coaching, now is the perfect time. There's 1 day left of my 18-week coaching deal. So if you want to get your life together, if you want to live an amazing life, if you want to do what I and all of my coaching clients have done, click the link in the description below and get to it. So we're going to have a little conversation about one of my favorite people, Good Looking Loser. So the guy's name is Chris from Good Looking Loser, if you're not familiar, and he ran a self-improvement website for men, particularly focused on sex and getting laid. And he covered topics like approach anxiety, which is where you're nervous to walk up to women in public and talk to them. But a lot of these concepts that he taught, a lot of these philosophies that he taught are things that I've held on to until like literally to this moment. So they're things that apply to more than just hitting on women. So if you're a woman listening, or you're a guy who's, got a girlfriend, or you're not interested in that side of things, these concepts sort of apply to making friends, to improving your social life, to making money, to losing weight and all of that. His website was very universal, which I think is why so many people are massive fans of him. And every time I do a video like this, where I sort of react to one of his old articles and give my take on it, these videos do really, really, really well. The main reason that I'm doing these videos, obviously, is a love letter and a shout out to him. I sort of want to keep his content alive because his website is down at the moment and has been for the last 6 months. So I'm not sure if it's coming back. You can ask me, but I don't really have the answer. But I thought I would go through another one of his articles and sort of react to it. And this one is about approach anxiety. So this article is called Help. It's weird going up to a random chick and hitting on her. Approach anxiety. And again, this applies if you're just trying to make friends. If you're at a party or something and you don't know people, if you go along with a friend, you tag along with a friend to a meetup or something and you don't really know anyone there, there's this feeling that most people have, which is it's weird if I go and talk to people I don't know. I say all the time, I have a couple of videos where I say, talk to everybody, like outside in the world. Everybody's your friend, like the world is your friend. And if you take me up on this challenge and just start talking to other human beings when you're outside, you realize that it's no longer, or it starts to no longer become that weird, you talking to random strangers. It just becomes who you are. I say this all the time. When I go outside, I just talk to every single person that I possibly can. I'm talking to random strangers. I talk to people at the shops. If I'm in an elevator with someone, I'm talking to them. If I see some cute dog, I will ask if I can pat the dog and I'll talk to the person. And through doing that, and I didn't just decide to do that myself. My grandfather sort of gave me that idea. He was someone that always talked to absolutely every single human being that he would ever see. And as I was watching him grow up, when I was growing up, it very much felt like he was just friends with everybody. It felt like everybody liked him. It felt like the world was his playground. Like he could just go through this, beautiful experience every single day of just talking to people. And it was like he'd known them for his entire life. So I took a page out of his book and did that myself and still do to this day. And so all of these concepts that we're about to talk about here from this article, and this article was written back in 2011, we're going to talk about approach anxiety, or Chris, the author of this article, is going to talk about approach anxiety, but it applies to just talking to strangers. It applies to just making friends and all of that. So the concepts here are universal concepts. Let's get to it. Approach anxiety, which again is just a fear of hitting on women that you don't know. This is a major issue and probably the one that we focus on the most with our students. You need to have social courage or balls to meet and bang hot chicks, or, like I said, to make friends. It's the most important thing. More important than looks, money, funny, smooth lines, or interesting hobbies. Approach anxiety, social anxiety, sexual anxiety, and general anxiety will totally fuck up your chances with women. And now I, generally speaking, phrase things a lot different than Chris did back in the day. So I wouldn't say sit there and be worried about like, oh my God, what if I fuck up your chances? That's what we call playing not to lose. And we're not here to play not to lose. We're here to play to win. So focus on the thing that you do want, which is I'm going to have a great time with women, or if you're a woman, I'm going to have a great time with guys or friends or whatever, rather than going, oh my God, I hope I don't fuck this up. Like if I say, try not to fuck this up, you're now thinking of, oh my God, I better not fuck this up, instead of focusing on the thing that you actually do want to do, the action that I want you to take. And so it's similar to that meme that people say, if I say to you right now, don't think of a pink elephant, what are you all thinking about? You're right now thinking about a pink elephant. And so rather than say, try not to fuck up your chances with women, I'd rather say like, hey, just relax. It's okay. Like, Have a good time. It's okay if you suck. That's fine. Like, you're just there to have some fun. You're there to talk to people. It's all good. So the good news is you can overcome all of these issues, or at least enough to get hot chicks in bed on the regular, or make friends, or whatever it is that you're looking for. Let's focus on approach anxiety. And now he has a video here. He used to have a ton of videos, but they've all gone offline. So we'll skip all of this. And I occasionally get questions from people saying, hey, do you have Good Looking Losers videos? Do you have his audios? No, I don't. However, I believe some people have an archive of it. If you're in my coaching program, a couple of the guys in the coaching program have an archive. So that's one way to get it. I don't know who has an archive, like who's outside of my coaching program. So I can't super help you there. I'm sure that somebody does. So you guys and girls can leave a comment and say, hey, does anybody have an archive of his videos? Because I know those archives do exist. I'll spare you an unnecessary comprehensive biochemistry discussion of approach anxiety, but it goes something like this. In order to keep you out of danger, your body automatically triggers a fight or flight response to a perceived danger or an unfamiliar situation, even if the danger is psychological and not physical. This is natural, but obviously not too helpful if you want to meet girls. And this, I love that he's put this in here, because this is, I did a podcast recently where I said, like, you're not... I can't remember exactly what I said. Okay, this was the podcast I did. So it's called Why You're Stuck. The juice payoff is stopping you from growing. In other words, it's serving a purpose. So the whole point of this podcast, and you can just find this on Spotify or iTunes or anywhere else, it's one of the latest podcasts. The point of this podcast is there's not something wrong with you whenever you're sitting there and like you have a fear or an anxiety, or you're procrastinating, or you're avoiding something. It's not because you're screwed up or because you're stupid or because you're fucked up. No, it's serving a purpose. Like that fear or that anxiety or your emotions, you know, if you get really angry or you're upset or you feel stuck or something, that emotion is serving a purpose. In other words, it's trying to tell you something. It's trying to help you. And it pays to listen to it and sort of say, you don't have to sit there and like massively overanalyze it, but at least like come at it with some sort of empathy or understanding. Like rather than saying, oh, I'm a fucking loser because I feel some approach anxiety. No, as Chris says here, like you feel that anxiety because it's like fight or flight response to a danger or unfamiliar situation. Like it's natural. It's trying to keep you safe. That feeling of like, oh my God, I can't talk to that girl. What if she's mean to me? What if she doesn't like me? Or if you're just making friends and you're at a party and you have that feeling of like, I can't talk to them. I don't know them. That would be weird. Like, what if they hate me? That feeling, that anxiety is trying to keep you safe. It's like actually there to serve a purpose. And so you can kind of just welcome that emotion or welcome that anxiety rather than saying, I have to defeat it. I have to, conquer it. I have to smash through my anxiety. Those are lovely goals, fine. But I prefer to come at it from like, no, understand why the anxiety exists, empathize with it. Hell, even be grateful for it. You can literally talk to your own anxiety and say, hey, anxiety, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. That's really nice of you. Thank you for being a protective mechanism. You can say thank you to your biology. Thank you to human evolution. Thank you to that these emotions and these feelings that we have that are there to serve a purpose. And then you can say, however, I'm still going to go and talk to that person. I'm still going to run towards my fear. I'm still going to take this leap of faith. I'm still going to ask this potential client for money or whatever it is that you're running towards that you're scared of. So you feel the anxiety, you say thank you for that anxiety because it is there to serve a purpose rather than fighting it. The more you fight it, the stronger it usually becomes. But you just sort of welcome it, you embrace it, you say, hey, I understand why this anxiety is here. I'm not screwed up, I'm not fucked up, there's not something wrong with me. I'm actually pretty fucking rational. It is pretty rational to feel a strong emotional trigger when you think about talking to someone at a party that you don't know, or going to a party where you don't know anyone, or going outside onto the street and giving a stranger a compliment, or asking your boss for a raise, or breaking up with someone, or any of these things that bring us or can bring us anxiety and fear. It's very rational to feel that fear. It's a protective mechanism. It's trying to keep you safe. So you feel it, you say thank you for it, and then you take action anyway. So he goes on to say, if you are unfamiliar with walking up to and talking to a hot chick that you want to bang, or talking to a stranger that you don't know, your brain will probably trigger the fight or flight response that can leave you nervous, less confident, or tongue-tied. That's the way it was for me and everybody I know when we just started out. Even my handful of friends that were naturally really good at women. Yeah, even people that are social, even people that are good at something, understand that they probably sucked at the start. And we often make this fallacy or this mistake where we look at somebody who's way ahead of us, whether that's with money, fitness, dating, whatever it might be. We look at the person that's miles ahead of us and we go, oh, I bet they've never felt anxious. How do I know that? Or why am I assuming that? Because they're not anxious now. It's like, yeah, but they were anxious when they started. They felt everything that you feel now when they first started. And what they did is they felt that response and then they took some action anyway. So again, embrace and welcome these emotions. Welcome the fact that you're terrified to walk up to somebody you don't know. Be like, hey, thank you for keeping me safe, anxiety. However, I'm going to go talk to that person. And anxiety, you can come along for the ride. I understand you're going to be there. I understand, Mr. Anxiety or Mrs. Anxiety. You're going to be screaming in my head while I'm trying to talk to this other person. That's okay. Like, let's both go talk to that person together. And so feel that anxiety. You don't have to defeat it. It's why, one thing that I've gotten, maybe I've slightly, I won't say deviated. Maybe you can say that. One thing that I've added on top of Good Looking Loser's website, he was someone that talked a lot about like conquering your anxiety, defeating your anxiety. And if you listen to him now, because he has a YouTube channel and he's done a few videos over the last year, he did a video where he said, he kind of like talked about some of his old concepts, kind of like I'm talking about his old concepts now. And he actually said, no, I wouldn't encourage anybody anymore to like defeat their anxiety. If they want to, that's great. But I actually now just think, just go and do the thing. Like you feel the anxiety, just go and talk to that woman anyway. Like she won't bite your head off. It's okay. Just go and talk to a few women. And after you've done a couple of hundred, you won't feel so anxious. Or go talk to those people at the party. Or go to these meetup events where you don't know anybody and you can learn to socialize. Or just, fuck it. Just go and ask your boss for a raise. So he's come to the same, he probably came to it before me, but he just stopped writing articles. He's now at the same point that I'm at where he's like, I don't think you need to defeat your anxiety. I don't think it's a bad thing. So it's not, to be clear, I'm not saying like, don't defeat your anxiety. If that's something you want to do, brilliant, great. For a lot of people, that mindset really fucking helps them. And I'm always a big advocate of going with whatever mindset helps you the most or serves you the most. But you don't have to defeat your anxiety. You can just talk to people even if you're nervous. He says a lot of guys, even top flight players, self-medicate with alcohol to ease their approach anxiety and not give a fuck. Yeah, how many people like socialize as well through alcohol? And like, fine, great. Like, if that works for you, brilliant. But like, he says, he even goes, yeah, exactly what I just said. I'm in favor of doing what works and then doing it again. But if you become reliant on alcohol, it will hurt your overall game, make your interactions sloppy, hurt your sexual performance. Plus, you don't exactly want to have to drink during the day to go meet chicks at the gym, grocery store, or mall. But yeah, even then, I wouldn't put so much stress on it. You get what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be sitting there going like, oh my God, I'm using this crutch. I'm using alcohol. Like, fuck, like this is hurting me. This is making me not be super social. Like, oh my God, this is affecting me. Like, I say the same thing. People can get very uptight around like nofap and things like that, which is just, not jerking off, not masturbating, where they're like, oh my God, jerking off is like ruining my life and all of this. And fair enough, if it is deeply impacting your life, obviously give it up. But I wouldn't be, or do it less, but I wouldn't be sitting there stressing about it and having this like fear response, because you're just instilling yourself with fear. You're focusing on the thing you don't want. Again, we like to focus on the things that we do want. We have that winner's mindset. We're playing to win. We focus on winning. And so rather than saying, oh, I got to stop jerking off, it's ruining my life, or I got to give up alcohol, it's ruining my life, I got to give up my addiction, it's hurting me. It's like, yes, hold on to those things for sure, but then focus your attention on the thing you want. I want a beautiful life that's free from this thing. I want an amazing life where I have a lot more freedom. I want to be able to just talk to people and I can just be myself completely sober. Like, so focus on the thing you want rather than the thing you don't want. So furthermore, we have and use better, more healthful solutions that will absolutely destroy your anxiety better than alcohol and give you a kick in the ass. So he's talking about like drugs that he uses. Most of those drugs that he uses, by the way, are like completely legal in America, but completely illegal in my country. My country tends to like overregulate everything. And so, yeah, he's talking about like Phenibut and drugs like that are completely illegal here. You aren't going to totally beat approach anxiety in a single day. And I would even go further than this, and it seems like Chris agrees these days, where I'd say like, if you want to defeat your anxiety, great, but you really don't need to. Like, I still have anxiety about a lot of things. I've done an article on my website. This one here, it's one of my most referenced articles called I Am Always Full of Doubt. And in this article, I literally talk about like, I have doubt all the time still. Like, I have insecurities all the time. Why wouldn't I? I'm a human being. And so I don't necessarily believe, I very much don't believe that you need to conquer your anxiety or that you need to overcome all your doubts and insecurities. If you want to, brilliant. That's a wonderful goal. Go for it. But like, it's not a requirement. I did a second podcast or a second piece of content. You can see here, the full article, or sorry, the full podcast is called I Have No Fucking Idea What I'm Doing. I really love this podcast. So both of those are just in this article. Again, the article is called I Am Always Full of Doubt. But in this podcast, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. I literally talk about, like, half the time I'm just winging it. I'm just trying some things and seeing what works. Like, I haven't fully overcome all of my anxieties. I haven't overcome all of my fears. Fuck no. I'm scared all the time. I'm full of doubt all the time. I second guess myself all the time. Like, basically on a daily basis. I'm someone that very much overthinks things, and you could say I'm very neurotic. I just don't care. I'm okay with that. I'm not here to defeat all of my fears and anxieties. I'm here to win. And some of the biggest winners on the planet are also some of the most insecure, full of doubt, anxious people that you'll ever meet. They just don't care. Or maybe they care, but they take action anyway. You know, so many celebrities that you might look up to, sports stars you might look up to, some of the most insecure, like Michael Jordan being a good example, like people that are the most like insecure people you'll ever meet. And that's why they succeed. So I don't really believe that you need to defeat your approach anxiety or any other type of anxiety. Again, if you want to, go for it, but it's not a requirement. All right, let's keep going. Approach anxiety is something you can gradually overcome. Yeah. And I like to say you don't have to fully overcome it. You're just aiming to make it a little bit better. In other words, can you reduce your approach anxiety 1% at a time and maybe get it to a point where you have 50% less anxiousness? Or maybe you're able to talk to someone if you really push yourself. You're able to talk to women that you don't know or strangers you don't know. And you just have to give yourself a little shove. Like you can build, if we're talking about sex and dating, you can build an elite sex life that the average person would just envy. Like 99% of people on the planet would envy while being completely fucking anxious. It doesn't require you to not have anxiousness or anxiety. It just requires you to take action. And you can do that while anxious. Again, look at everything that I have built. I am so full of anxiety. You guys and girls can't imagine how anxious I get on a daily basis. It just doesn't matter because I also take action. So those two things can kind of go together. You can be an anxious person, full of anxiety and neuroticism, and you take action. The universe rewards action. It doesn't necessarily reward not having anxiety or not having fears or not having doubts. Obviously, having less anxiety will help you a metric fuck ton. And so if somebody came to me and said, hey, my mission is to like drastically reduce my approach anxiety or any other type of anxiety or doubts, fuck yeah, I'm on board for that. Go for it. Beautiful mission. But make sure you're taking action. And so I see sometimes somebody will procrastinate taking the actual action. So for instance, if they're working on sex and dating and getting laid, they won't go and actually hit on any women. You know, they'll see a ton of women. You know, you see a cute girl in a coffee shop, you see a girl at the grocery store. They won't talk to any of them because they're like, oh, I'm too busy beating my approach anxiety. And it's like, you're just procrastinating taking the actual action to get yourself the thing that you want. You're avoiding. It's like people will sit there and come up with the perfect meal plan or the perfect like workout plan. And they'll spend 3 months researching gyms. And it's like, bro, you've never been to the gym once. Like, you're not going to build a body or lose fat by researching. Yes, research can help. Yes, defeating your approach or reducing your approach anxiety can help. But it isn't the thing that's going to get rewarded. Again, the universe rewards you taking action towards your goal. There are certain steps that are required. Like if you want to get laid, you have to talk to women. Quite a lot of them usually. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat less calories than you burn. Like those are mandatory steps. And if you avoid the mandatory steps because you're trying to do an optional step, like beating your approach anxiety, which is a very helpful step, but it is an optional step, don't be surprised if you're not making progress because you're sort of procrastinating or avoiding the mandatory steps. So let's make sure we handle the mandatory steps first as a top priority. And then things like beating your approach anxiety can be like a beautiful bonus step or a beautiful like step that will facilitate your growth or a step that will make it even easier for you to take those steps. So again, beating your approach anxiety, lovely goal. I love it. Let's just make sure that we don't avoid the thing that will actually get you to your main goal. Like don't lose sight of the main goal because you're working on a sub goal or a side goal, a bonus goal. So approach anxiety is something you can gradually overcome, and that's the way I attack it too. attack it. I don't even attack it. I embrace it. I get my clients to embrace it. Think of it like a gradual thing. Like I'm going to just be 1% more confident. And rather than saying I'm going to reduce my approach anxiety, which again is focusing on the thing you don't want, focus on the thing you do want. I'm going to be 1% more confident. I'm going to be 1% more happy to talk to people. I'm going to be 1% more courageous when I'm outside and when I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to be 1% more social, whatever it is that you want. Everyone will have a different level of approach anxiety. Absolutely true. I think that I had an above average level of approach anxiety when I was starting out, probably because I was unfamiliar with walking up to new girls and not too confident when I started. And me, Andy, I had like a top tier, absolutely crazy level of approach anxiety myself. I went out like the first time before I started working on this stuff. I went out for a week and I tried really hard to talk to a woman and I just couldn't. I must have walked past thousands of women and each time trying to do it and I just couldn't do it. I really had a crazy high level of approach anxiety. And I've had some guys in my coaching program have had like similar levels. We had one guy who went out for 6 weeks in a row trying to talk to women and he came close so many times. And then finally one day he just broke the seal. He broke through that. The floodgates opened and he was able to just do a bunch. And so sometimes this stuff takes a little bit of time, but I'm a big proponent of just getting out there. I call it just stay out on the front lines. If you can just spend as much time outside, just even trying to talk to the opposite sex, congratulations, you're doing it. If you're someone that's working on your social life, if you can just go to bars or parties or meetups or social events, just anything, if you book clubs, like fucking anything, if you can just go to hiking events and things like that, if you can just keep showing up, even if you're shit at it, even if like you literally can't talk to other human beings, if you just keep showing up, I promise you eventually you will accidentally get okay at it. You will accidentally get decent and then you'll accidentally become kind of good. And then you'll accidentally become good. And then you go, what the hell? How did this happen? By you just putting yourself in that situation where you have an opportunity to get okay at the thing, that's all you really need to do. Just keep showing up. Literally put yourself in that position. Be outside with people or be around people and you're giving yourself the chance to get even slightly okay with this. Most people starting out have an average to extreme approach anxiety. Yep. Most people aren't used to talking to strangers. That's just kind of fucking normal. Since it is a gradual process and sometimes a delicate one initially, we train our students based with small amounts of exposure therapy. That's essentially what this is. That's what I'm saying. You just put yourself in that position, whether that's social, whether that's, working on your sex life, whatever it is, put yourself in the position where you're around other people and you will just accidentally get okay at this. I promise you. If you just keep showing up, you might completely suck at the start. That's why I say give yourself permission to suck. You might literally not know how to talk to another human being and you completely fucking fall apart and you can't do it. Hey, that's beautiful. That's part of this experience. I was kind of like that too. The first, 30 women that I talked to, I've said this a million times. I literally struggled to remember my own name sometimes. There was one woman where I forgot my name. I literally couldn't remember my fucking name. There was like the first 30 or maybe the first 50. In my head, I was just continually repeating over and over again, don't throw up, don't throw up, don't throw up, because I literally felt sick to my stomach. And it took all of my mental willpower to not throw up. And my hands would be like shaking, like visibly fucking crazily shaking. And I was sweating, even though it was like not even hot. I'm sweating and I'm struggling. My face is red and I can't make eye contact and my face just hurt. It was like agonizingly tight to the point where I could barely even say words. I couldn't even think what to say next. I literally thought I'm going to die. That thought was in my head so many times when I was approaching, but I didn't need to be good. And I definitely wasn't good. And the reactions weren't all good. A couple of them were. But I was being incredibly uptight and, like tense and anxious and shaking and sweating. And I couldn't make eye contact. And I couldn't think of what to say. Of course the reactions weren't going to always be good. No one was mean to me, but like they were cautious because I'm acting anxious. But I just kept going out and I kept doing it. And at some point I kind of became okay at it. And then from there I became decent and then good. So you don't have to be an expert at this stuff, but put yourself out there as much as you can. And that is the definition of exposure therapy. Exposure therapy is just exposing yourself to the thing that you're scared of. And eventually you stop being scared of it because you've been there 1,000 times. You're not scared of something you've done 1,000 times. And so people say, how do I get over my approach anxiety or my fear of socializing or whatever it might be? How do I get over my fear of like asking clients for money? How do I get over my fear of asking a boss for a raise? You just do it enough times and be okay with sucking the first whatever number of times that you do it, because you probably will suck. It's normal. How to beat approach anxiety, or again, I like to say how to slightly reduce approach anxiety. How to improve your social confidence. I don't like to say beat approach anxiety. I like to focus on the thing we want. How to be more sociable, how to be more confident, how to be able to talk to women, how to be able to approach a little better. Everyone is unique, but the vast number of people respond pretty well with small amounts of exposure therapy / baby steps. Yeah, what do I say all the time? Baby steps with our specific reps or mini approaches if they have approach anxiety. We do have a brief description of this process here, baby steps for approach anxiety, and I don't believe that this article still exists. Nope, incorrect, it does still exist. So his beginner steps are basically like walk up to someone, ask for the time, and then leave. And then you just kind of go from there and it kind of escalates. You can pause the video if you want to read these, but there's more down here. I'll scroll slowly so you can read this if you want to. But yeah, some baby steps. And what I usually get people to do if they need baby steps, I usually just say something like this. I say, all right, at the start, go outside and try and talk to a woman. Or if you're talking about socializing, just try and talk to people. Try and talk to someone. And if you can't do it, that's okay. Just try and just spend an hour. Make a commitment that you'll spend a certain block of time outside. If that's 1 hour, brilliant, do that. Spend 1 hour outside just trying with this stuff. And then come home and then try again the next day. And if you try that for a week and you just can't manage to do it, you can't manage to even just say like, hey, I just thought you were cute, and then leave. Like if you can't do anything, okay, go outside every day and just try and make eye contact and try and smile. And I have like a whole list of different ideas, I guess you would say, of things that you can try. And we just kind of play it by ear. I'll get a guy to go out and just try each one of those things. And every single guy can do something on the list. Right? With some guys, they literally can't even smile at a woman. So I say, okay, just walk around all day and just think about trying to talk to someone. You don't even have to do it. Just think about what it might be like to try. And they do that. They get comfortable with the idea of even just trying. And then I say, okay, now just try making eye contact. And they get comfortable with that. And then they can kind of do that a little bit. Okay, now just try smiling at one woman as you walk past. And they can do that. Okay, now try just going up to a woman and saying, hey, I love your shoes, and then leave. And pretty much everyone can do that by that point. And we just slowly keep escalating until I get to a point where I say, okay, now walk up and say, hey, I like your shoes. And by the way, you're really cute. I hope you have a nice day. And then you leave. And everyone can do that by that point. Again, some of the guys take a while to get to that point. The longest I've ever had was, like I said, a guy that took 6 weeks of going out every single day for hours a day. But he had a whole lot of stuff to process and work through. And that's why I love this process of like somebody going out there, because it's basically therapy. It's basically therapy for yourself. You're working through all of your doubts, your limiting beliefs, all of the reasons you have in your head for why you can't do this. And so I don't even think the mission is to beat approach anxiety or become more social or any of that. It's a nice, I mean, that is kind of the goal, but it's a nice form of, or one of the byproducts is you get all this self-therapy. You get to work through all the shit that's been in your head. I don't deserve to do this. I'm not good enough. Other people can do this, but not me. I'm a fucking loser. It's weird talking to strangers. I don't deserve the things I want in life. I'm not entitled to do this. I'm not allowed to do this. I don't deserve to be happy. All of those things. And I went through so many of these things myself. I had to do so much self-therapy myself by just going outside and trying to talk to women. I had so many days where I would walk around for like 4, 5, 6. There was one day I walked around for like 8 hours, unable to talk to anybody, beating myself up for it, and try not to beat yourself up. But if you do a little bit, that's okay. Like that's called being human. And I was just like processing everything. And I would sit down on the bench and I would basically cry. There are a couple of days I did cry in public in front of people. And I'd just be like, I can't do this. Like, this isn't me. I'm not good enough. Like, other people can talk to strangers and other people are allowed to have a sex life. Other people can have the things they want, but not me. I'm a loser. And like, I went through all the reasons why. Like, why do I believe this? And I had a long list of reasons of like why I don't deserve this. I had a lot of evidence, but I needed to process all of that, or it was very helpful for me to process all of that until I got to the point where it's like, okay, maybe I can just do this. And so each person's journey is going to be different when you go outside with the intention of talking to people you don't know, or when you ask your boss for a raise, or when you start going to the gym, or you start losing weight. Your journey is going to be completely different to anybody else's journey, and things might come up that you weren't expecting. That's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. That's self-therapy. You can kind of think of goals, working on goals, as self-therapy. Like, in order to achieve goals, there are certain things that you might have to do, a certain person you might have to become. You might have to literally become a different person. And part of that evolution or that change of getting towards or becoming that new person, stepping into that new person, means sort of it might mean an unburdening of a lot of the stories and the limiting beliefs and the excuses, whatever you want to call them, the negative thoughts, the limiting thoughts, the small thoughts, or the thoughts that make you feel small, that are bouncing around in your head that you've probably suppressed for your entire life and never addressed. So understand that this process can very much be, especially if we're talking about talking to the opposite sex, can be a very big process of like self-therapy, and that's a beautiful thing. All right, let's keep reading. Tom Martinez, Tom Brady's quarterback coach, explains that it takes 3,000 to 5,000 repetitions or football throws to retrain a muscle to have an automatically repeatable motion. Your brain isn't quite a muscle, but the same theory still applies. Absolutely. Thankfully, you won't need anywhere close to 3,000 to 5,000 approaches to train your brain to not have a fight or flight response when you walk up to some hot chick. Yeah, or like talking to people at a party or asking clients for money, whatever it is that you're working on, yeah? How many reps or mini approaches you'll need depends on how much approach anxiety you have to begin with, how well you respond to exposure therapy, and how far you are willing to push your comfort zone to reprogram your brain. Yeah, obviously, the more you do, the easier it becomes, the quicker you reprogram your brain. I like to say it as, or another way of thinking about it is like, you're getting yourself comfortable with this thing. So, so many people have resistance to going to the gym, or they say like losing weight is really hard. Yeah, because you just haven't done it enough. Like if you go to the gym 100 times, it's easy. I promise you it only takes like going to the gym 20 times before you start to feel comfortable. And so you can literally think of it like that. Just say, my only mission is to get through the next 20 times. If it's losing weight, like let's say you go, let's say you're counting your calories and you decide to lower your calorie intake every day. It might be very uncomfortable for the first 3 weeks, but I promise it gets easy. When I quit alcohol, which was about 3 years ago now, 2.5 years, when I first started quitting, like the first 3 weeks were absolute fucking hell. It was really hell. It like when you quit alcohol, and anyone who is sober or has become sober will tell you, the world is full of advertisements for alcohol, and you don't realize it unless you have or you decide to quit alcohol. That's when you realize, holy shit, the world is set up to advertise. And the same thing with porn, by the way. If you're someone that's like quitting porn, you realize like, oh my fucking God, there are a lot of triggers in the world. There are a lot of sexy women on TikTok, on Instagram, just outside, like on billboards and ads and TV. Just the internet is full of a lot of sexy women, and a lot of the world is full of a lot of billboards and advertisements for alcohol. And so you're really, 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 or it's normal if you struggle a lot at the start. The same thing with going to the gym. The same thing with learning to talk to women or learning to make friends. It might feel fucking weird the first like 20 times you do it, but just tell yourself, my only mission is to get in these reps. I literally just have to do it. And as he says here, we've found that the average guy needs 100 to 300 reps of mini approaches to beat their approach anxiety. Not bad. I'd say it takes even less than that. But what he's talking about is like by 100 or 300, you're at a point where like you literally don't even, you do it. It's like just a normal thing. It's like talking to your friends. You really don't care. Maybe you have some anxiety, but like you just don't care. So I'd say that's pretty accurate. But understand that it gets way easier before that. Like literally after you do the first 20, like after you talk to 20 women or make friends with 20 people, I promise you, it gets way easier. So literally in your head, just say, I just have to get through the first 20. I promise it gets easier after the first 10 even. But after 20, it starts getting a bit easier. After 100 or 300, you're at the point where you're just like, I don't even care anymore. The same thing I found with doing content. The first couple of articles I ever wrote was really fucking difficult. I was so anxious. I was so intimidated by putting myself out there. The first, 10 or 20 videos I did on this channel, the first 10 or 20 podcasts I did on Spotify, I was really anxious each time. And I found it only took about 20 before I was like, okay, I think I know what I'm doing now. And by 100, at this point, I've done 489 videos, including this one, on my YouTube channel. I've done, I don't even know, about that many on Spotify, and I think I've done like 500 or something articles. I've lost count. But by the time I'd done like 100, I'm not even thinking about anxiety anymore. It's just like I'm just talking in front of the camera, or I'm talking into the microphone, or I'm writing an article. I'm just writing words on the page. So I promise you that you do get to a point where you like no longer care. And I can probably sum all of this up best with this article on my website called Anxiety Doesn't Go Away, You Just Stop Caring. And the point that I made is like, yeah, if you just do something 100 times, like you no longer care. Like you literally don't care that you're anxious. You just see anxiety as something that, like I said, is there to protect you. It serves a purpose, but like you don't care anymore. And so you literally do say to your anxiety, all right, come on, like come along for the ride. Come on with me. I know you're always going to be here, anxiety. Like let's just go do this thing anyway. So you just like really stop caring. All right, back to the article. Approach anxiety can be tough to kick, especially if you were just starting out or you're in a rut. If you need more help, check out our customized Beat Approach Anxiety programs. And he has an approach anxiety program on his website. But again, his YouTube videos recently, he's said like, I wouldn't tell people to do the approach anxiety program. They can if they want to. And I did the program, I'll be very clear on that. And it was very helpful to me. And I know a lot of people that have done it, but I don't get any of my coaching clients to do like an approach anxiety program anymore. I say like, look, you're scared to talk to the opposite sex. That's called being a human being. That's completely normal. We'll just take some baby steps and we'll get you there. And if you suck, that's okay. I promise you don't have to be that great at this. Women are super nice. They're super loving. And if they're not, that's okay. Like, we're not trying to get every woman to like us. We're just trying to find the women that do. And, you know, I have all the different strategies and stuff, but I don't get anyone to do a big approach anxiety program, especially not my coaching clients, because just like it's helpful, but it's also kind of not, in my opinion, not a great use of their 12 weeks of the coaching program. So I just say like, skip that. Let's just get you out there talking to some women so you can start getting results. And as you guys and girls have seen in the coaching interviews that I do with people after their coaching is over, so many of them like end up meeting someone, they get laid, you know, they have a great time. Yeah, like they really don't need to beat their approach anxiety. Like I've had so many, I've lost count of the number of guys at this point who've just like the 30th woman that they talk to, they end up sleeping with her and having a wonderful fucking time while being incredibly anxious. And every single time they're like, oh my God, but like I'm still anxious. Why the hell did she sleep with me? Because you, like I said, it didn't require you not to be anxious. It just required you to talk to enough women until you found one that liked you. Like it doesn't require you not to be anxious. Nowhere. I know that movies and TV shows and all of that give this impression that you have to be smooth and not anxious, but nowhere does it say, like in real life, does it say that you have to be not anxious to have sex? Anxious people have sex with each other all the fucking time. The vast majority of people, when they have sex for the first time, are anxious and shy and nervous. That's called being a human being. If you had to beat your approach anxiety in order to have sex with someone, then no one would be having sex. Or very few people would be having sex. So again, if you want to beat your approach anxiety, go for it. It's a noble goal. It's something that will bring you a lot of joy. It'll bring you a lot of confidence. Like I'm definitely not saying not to beat your approach anxiety, but it's not mandatory. You can absolutely have an amazing sex life while being not an anxious mess, but like having anxiety for sure. Like I'm an anxious mess sometimes. I'm anxious in half of these fucking videos if you pay attention, but like who gives a shit? Still helping you. I'm still doing content. I'm still building the channel. I'm still making money. I'm still working on my mission to change lives. So you don't have to defeat your anxiety. Reps and mini approaches and examples. Again, a rep or mini approach is our own unique exposure therapy drill to slowly recalibrate your brain from having a fight or flight response to approaching. Here are some examples of exposure therapy from reps and mini approaches. This is something we actually do with students battling approach anxiety. And again, I wouldn't even use the phrase battling approach anxiety. I'm a big fan of using language that makes things feel simple and makes things not feel like a big deal. If you use the term battling or defeat, or I have to fight my approach anxiety, you're often making a mountain out of a molehill. It's scary. It's a big thing that you have to now do. It's a big mountain you have to climb. I have to battle my approach anxiety. That sounds like a fucking war. That sounds like that's going to take all your willpower, all of your might. It sounds hard. But if you just say, what if I just work on being 1% more confident? What if I just try and talk to some women? What if I just say hi to some girls? That's it. I see a girl in a coffee shop, and what if I just say hi? It's like you can do that. Anyone can do that, right? But not everyone can battle their approach anxiety. One is very scary and sounds like a big deal and makes you want to procrastinate it and avoid it. The other one, where I say, just say hi to a girl. Pretty much everyone's like, okay, well, if that's all I have to do, if I just have to say hi, okay, maybe I can do that. And so I'm a big fan of like bringing things down and making things simple and making things approachable. pun intended, I guess. So giving you like baby steps that you can actually take rather than making it a big battle. If you have too much anxiety to walk up to a girl at the mall and hit on her, try this instead. Just walk up to the girl and ask her the time, then leave. That's right, don't say anything else, you're not allowed to. The stakes are pretty low and most people can do this pretty easily. So yeah, as I said, even Chris here is like a big fan of like breaking it down and making it simple, right? It's like, just go ask for the time. That's very simple. Pretty much everyone can do that. And if you can't, walk around for a week thinking about asking people for the time. And I promise you, eventually, you will feel so much frustration that you haven't done it yet. You'll walk around, or you'll feel so much courage that you've tried to do it so many times that you'll eventually just go, fuck it, I'm going to ask this person for the time. And you do it and you go, holy shit, I did it. And then you can slowly build from there. There's always something you can do. If that goes well, but you still have too much anxiety to hit on a girl, do this. Just walk up to the girl and give her a compliment. Not with the intention to bang her, just to brighten her day. Yeah, I love that. Focus on like giving her something because that helps you feel a little bit more confident about what you're doing. And you are giving her something. Like if you walk up to a stranger and give them a compliment, that's really nice. People compliment me all the time. I compliment them all the time. Like if you pay attention, like people like compliments and people like to give compliments. Say something like, hey, I'm not hitting on you, but I just wanted to tell you that I thought you were pretty. Or I just wanted to tell you that you are the cutest girl I've seen all day. That's really sweet. I like that. You can even compliment people just on there, like what they're wearing. Like if you pay attention when you walk around, people wear some cool shit. Like people wear cool clothes. People are doing interesting things. Just say that. It doesn't even have to be a compliment. I talk about this all the time. I talk about doing this, especially in the bedroom during sex. I say, just like compliment your partner, but you can even like rephrase it, not as a compliment. If the idea of like giving a compliment intimidates you a little bit, just think of it like I'm just telling the truth. I'm telling my truth. And so, if we're talking about in the bedroom with sex, if the other person is really hot to you and turning you on, just say that. Just tell the truth. You're really hot and you're turning me on. If you love their tits or you love their muscles or whatever it is you love about them, just say, I love your tits. My God, your body looks good. Just like say whatever's in your head. And so giving a compliment to someone on the street can be the same thing. If you see a girl and she has, I don't know, fucking a pretty bow in her hair or something, be like, I love your bow. Like just tell your truth. Tell the truth. And then it's not so much like, oh, I'm hitting on her. Because again, people build that up into a big thing. They say, oh, I have to go hit on this girl. And that's scary. No, what if you just say your truth? And that's how I had to phrase it in my head when I was deep into, approaching women and hitting on them and all of this sort of stuff. The way that I had to give myself permission to do it was I said, what if I just tell the truth? Like my truth. What if I just tell my truth? And so if I see a girl that's attractive, I'm going to say you're attractive. If I see a girl that's just, especially on like a Friday or a Saturday night, she's dressed in high heels, she's just got stockings, like she's looking really fucking sexy, she's got her boobs up. What if I just walk up to her and just tell her the truth? Like, holy shit, you look sexy. What if there's a girl who's just being adorable and I walk up and I'm like, oh my God, you're so adorable. And so I would just tell my truth and tell whatever it is that I was feeling, like the honest truth of it. And then I would say, I like you. Like, do you want to talk? Do you want to grab a drink? Whatever it was that my truth was. And so that sort of took the pressure off me. But before I was putting this pressure on myself of like, I have to go hit on girls. I have to approach girls. And that stuff was just scary. So you can just walk up and just tell your truth. He goes on to say, 99% of the girls will say thank you in a genuine way. Yeah, I'll say most people are nice, but maybe women like even more. Guys are nice too, but like when you compliment women, they tend to take it really fucking well, especially if you're doing it in a genuine, like I said, honest way. Just walk up and tell your truth. I find you attractive. I love your shoes. I think you're cool. I think you're interesting. Whatever your fucking truth is. That's why sometimes I get questions from people and they say like, what like line should I use? Tell me what to say. What pickup line should I use? And I'm like, just tell the truth. Like, why do you need a line? Just tell the truth. We're here to be honest. Just tell the truth. If you find her attractive, say, I find you attractive. If you think she's cute, you're cute. Or I find you cute. Just like tell the fucking truth. We often have our students repeat the quick compliment mini approach to show them that nearly 10 times out of 10, the girl will be nice and totally receptive. Yeah, it's basically 10 times out of 10. And it's so rare that someone will have a bad reaction to a compliment or you hitting on them. Again, if you're doing it in an honest way where you just tell your truth, it's so rare that someone will have a bad reaction that when you do get a bad reaction, because you will get some, when it does happen, you go, oh, fuck, like she's probably having a really bad day. Like, you don't take it so personally because you're like, the 50 other women that I just did this with had a really great time and a really great reaction, and it was great for both of us. And then this one woman is a bit grumpy or tells me to leave or go away, and they won't even say that, but like she was grumpy. It's like, that's not me. Like, how did 50 other women have a really good reaction and we had a great time, and I added a little bit to their life by giving them a compliment, and maybe I got their number, maybe I didn't, it doesn't even matter. We had a great interaction, great experience. And then this one person's grumpy. She's probably having a bad day. And you can kind of empathize, and you can be like, all right, no worries. I didn't mean to bother you. I hope you have a good day. And you can leave. And afterwards, you can kind of feel a little bit, or let that love bubble up to the surface and go, man, like, I hope her day gets better. I'm not going to because she doesn't want me to, but like, I kind of wanted to give her a hug. Like, I hope she feels okay. I hope she goes and has a nice life, and I hope everything's okay for her. And if not, hey, that's beautiful too. Like, feeling that little bit of like empathy, or just at least understanding that it's not about you. Like, you didn't do anything wrong, as long as you didn't walk up and be like, yo, what up, mama, you fucking hot little bitch? Show me those fucking tits, bitch. Like, yeah, if you walk up and say that, yeah, like, you might not get some good reactions, and you might be upsetting a few people, sure. But if you're walking up and just telling your truth, yeah, 99% of the time people have a good reaction to that. These are a few examples of reps that we have students doing during the day. We have more aggressive reps for beating social anxiety in competitive nighttime environments. Slowly, your fears are desensitized, and you can approach girls much easier and get way better results since you aren't nervous. It works. Look at this chick, like, really fucking deciding which packet of chips to buy. Oh my god, she's putting so much fucking effort into this. Buy the blue one. Buy the blue one. That's where, okay, so here's what you say. Say whatever the fuck you want, like I said, be honest. But you walk up to her and you like, literally like, you're not even hitting on her. You're just like, sweetheart, are you okay? Like, do you actually need some fucking help? Like, are you okay? Like, I can pick the chips for you if you're really fucking struggling. Like, I wouldn't even hit on this chick. Hit on her if you want to, but like, I would literally just be like, sweetheart, are you okay? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are you this deep in thought? Now that I've said that, she might literally be sitting there staring at the chips thinking, oh my God, I think I've almost cracked the cure for cancer. What if we just carried the one and we did this, and then you walk up, you're like, hey, sexy bitch, and she's like, God damn it, fuck, I was about to solve cancer, shit. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so fucking sorry. And she's like, great, now the next 400,000 cancer deaths are on you, retard. And then she walks off, and you're like, shit, fuck, what have I done? Get used to talking to hot girls if you aren't ready to start hitting on them. Yeah, like, basically that's what he's saying, like, talk to them. Remember, if you're being aggressive, you aren't supposed to get every girl. And Chris used the word aggressive a lot in his content, and aggressive is never a word that you're ever going to hear me say. And what has helped me sort of reframe it so that it makes sense in my head is, instead of the word aggressive, I just say the word like assertive, or like, going for what you want. But the word aggressive doesn't really gel with me. We had this conversation in my coaching group, actually. We had a big conversation about the word aggressive and how it doesn't always vibe with everybody. But yeah, use whatever word you want. Basically what he's saying is, like, if you just get in there and talk to women, like, you don't hesitate as much. And hesitation is fine. But yeah, when your approach anxiety decreases, your game gets better and you start to get more and more pussy. Get that pussy. I used to always love how good-looking loser Chris would use the word pussy like so frequently. He'd just be like, get that pussy. It always made me giggle. He was such a frat boy. And like, I was never the frat boy. I was more like I don't know, like a nice guy. And so like, I'd always giggle and I'd be like, get that pussy. It still makes me giggle now. I'm such a child. So get more and more pussy. Your initial rejection rate will probably not significantly go up or down. This might seem confusing at first. Yeah, so basically what he's saying is, like, even as your approach anxiety decreases, like, you might find that the exact same number of women say yes or no to you. And because what you're going to see is, like, I'll let him explain, but I'll add my own stuff. So this is why. When your social anxiety drops and you don't give a shit about screening out girls or rejection anymore, you will naturally begin to get more aggressive and start to internalize get laid or get lost. So again, if the word aggressive doesn't vibe with you, fine. Basically, the way that I would phrase this sentence, or what I interpret what he's saying here, is like, the more confident that you get, or the more women that you talk to, or anything really that you're working on, you get to a point where you're like, no, like, I'm more confident with what I want. I'm more sure of what I want. And if somebody isn't looking for the same thing, if we're not on the same page, hey, that's okay. That's beautiful. Like, you go find your thing that you want, and I'll go find the people that want what I want. So he's basically talking about like screening. And that's what he means when he says get laid or get lost. It might sound like an aggressive, he's saying like, you either want my dick or you can get lost. Like, I know it comes across like that, but Chris was like a super nice guy. Like, that's not entirely what it means. It sort of more is in the vein of like, look, here's what I want, and I'm very sure of what I want, especially if you're a man going for what you want. That can feel like a big part of masculinity. It's like going for what you want, being sure about what you want. And if somebody else doesn't want that, hey, that's fucking beautiful. Like, I hope you go find the thing that you want. I'll go find the thing I want. Thank you for this conversation. This was fucking amazing. It was nice to meet you. Great. I'm going to go find what I want. So basically, he's talking about not settling and just going for what you want. That's what he means when he says aggressive. Because I think a lot of guys, especially the guys that came to his blog, were really struggling with like being a doormat and like not going for what they want. And so I completely understand why he used the word aggressive, because it's kind of the opposite of what, I was one of them, of what most like nice guys do, where you just like, you don't go for what you want ever. You don't even say what you want. And so I don't think you need to be aggressive, but I think you need to be assertive, or I think it benefits you to be assertive, or to at least like have an idea of what you might want and then start moving in the direction towards that. So when you start to get more assertive or sure about what you want, or you start to go for what you want, more likely than not, you will filter out more girls, but you'll get laid more at a much higher rate. Yeah, because as you get more confident with what you want, or more sure of what you want, and if you're not sure what you want, that's okay. Like, you'll figure it out, I promise. But as you start to get more certain about what you want, whether that's with dating, getting laid, or if you're a woman listening, if it's making friends or whatever it might be, or screening out some people in your life and only having friends that really support you and lift you up and make you a better person, as you start to do that more, you will find that you filter out more people in your life, of course. But you will find that the interactions that you do have with the people that you filter in are just infinitely better. Like, you will have more sex, you'll have more friends. The friends that you do have, or the sex partners that you do have, will be more into you. They'll support you more. They'll love you more. Like, everything just gets better. So yes, you start saying no to more people, and more people start saying no to you. But that's a beautiful thing, because the people that you're left with are the people that you're really excited to spend time with, and they're really excited to spend time with you. So that's sort of the basis. That idea and that concept is called screening, or you can call it filtering if you want to. But screening or filtering, that came from this guy, Chris, Good Looking Loser. He drilled that into my brain, and I'm so glad he did, because that was kind of the opposite of the paradigm that I was living in before. Before, I had an idea of like, I have to make everybody in the world like me, and if somebody doesn't like me, that means I'm a loser, and I should change myself and make them like me. And I was trying to just get everybody in the world to like me. I was trying to get women to like me. I was trying to get men to like me. I just wanted to be liked. And his website really drilled into my head, like, no, dude, like, not everybody is going to like you. That's the point of life. It would be weird if everybody liked you. That would mean they all have the same opinion. That's boring. You kind of want people not to like you. Also, that makes it more special when somebody really does like you. And so your mission in life is to screen, or to filter, or to just focus. Maybe focus is a word that resonates better with you. Focus on the people that do like you, or the people that do want to get to know you and end up liking you. And don't focus so much on the people that don't. And that doesn't mean that you hate the people that don't like you. That doesn't mean that you go like, get lost. And I know he used the word get lost, earlier in this article. That never really gelled with me, but I knew what he was talking about when he said that. Basically, it's like, hey, don't have that person in your life. And I feel like this is something that's said in mainstream society all the time, but it can take a little bit of practice to implement. People all the time say like, he's not worth it. She's not worth your time. Like, get that person out of your life. Like, spend time with people who are good for you. We all kind of know that, but actually implementing that can take a little bit of practice, because sometimes you feel like a bad person, right? If you cut off a friend or something because maybe they're not adding much to your life, or maybe they're taking away from your life, you often feel like a bad person. You feel like, am I an asshole? Like, should I really cut them out of my life? Isn't that mean? Or if you're breaking up with someone, or if you're saying no to someone who's just come up to you and given you a compliment and been really nice to you, maybe you feel like a bad person if you're the woman in that interaction saying like, I really appreciate this and you're really nice, but like, no, thank you. And you might have a million different reasons why you want to say no, thank you, but you can feel a little bad. And so for any men listening, remember that your right, or your ability to screen, women have that same ability. And I know most of you know that, but it's worth reminding, because sometimes we can sit there and get a little frustrated if we walk up to a lot of women and they all say no, right? And they won't say no, but they're like, hey, I really appreciate that, but like, maybe not. Like, women are really nice when they let you down. But it can get, or you might be tempted to get frustrated by that and go, fuck, like, why are they all saying no? It's like, well, the same way that you screen and you filter for certain people that you like, they're just doing the same thing. And so we filter, they filter. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful that people have preferences and we can say yes or no to things that we want or don't want? That's kind of life. So I will always be super grateful to Chris for teaching me about screening. I'm so fucking glad that he drilled that idea into my head because it's such a beautiful paradigm and a beautiful way to go through the world. Find the people that you like and that like you back and spend time with them. And the people that don't like you or don't vibe with you or aren't a good fit for you, hey, that's okay. I hope they go and find the people that are a good fit for them. So he goes on to say, less aggressive or less certain of what you want and don't screen equals get laid less and get rejected less. Yeah, so this is like these two lines here. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say like we're here to play to win rather than playing not to lose. So if you're sitting there playing not to lose, which a lot of people do when it comes to talking to the opposite sex, especially a lot of guys when it comes to hitting on women, they're just trying to not get rejected. Like everything they're doing is trying to avoid rejection. And that there are so many things that fall under that category, like trying to rehearse and memorize the perfect pickup lines. That's you trying to not get rejected. That's you trying not to lose. Saying, well, how do I come across as like super charming and never be creepy and never do anything bad and make sure that every woman likes me? That's you trying not to get rejected. You're trying not to lose. And so, yes, you'll get rejected less if you do that, but you will also win less because you're so hyper-focused on not losing that a lot of people see that as like timid. It's just not confident. It's not fun. It's like you're so hyper-obsessed with like, please don't reject me. Oh my God. Like you come across with that almost needy energy. And you're too afraid to be yourself because you're just trying to be a chameleon who changes himself based on what you think the other person will want. That's not sexy, it's not appealing, and it's also not honest. And so if you do the opposite, and I know he uses the word aggressive, but if you're just certain about what you want or who you are, and again, you can learn to be that, you don't have to be that at the start, and then you screen for or go for what it is that you're wanting, you will end up with more people that like you because you're more, I guess, polarizing. You're more of an iconic figure now. You're a person with your own preferences and desires and wants, and you're playing to win. And so you will win. But along with that is you will also get rejected more. And see how he uses the word rejected in quotes, which is something that I do myself as well. Because you're not even getting rejected. It's just that the person has said yes to themselves and what they want rather than what you want. How is that a rejection? Nobody rejects you. You reject yourself. Like literally nobody can reject you. You just say, oh, I got rejected. And then you fucking hurt yourself with that story. And you're not doing it on purpose, but they didn't reject you. They're saying yes to themselves, and they might be saying no to you in the process, but it's a yes to themselves. So you absolutely will get laid more. You'll make more money. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you'll make more friends. You'll have more passionate friends who want to be around you even more. If you go for what you want and find the people who want the same thing, rather than just being a chameleon who changes himself or herself depending on who you're with. Right? It's not very appealing to be with someone who's just saying what they think you want to hear. It's not a person. Nobody wants a yes man or a yes woman. You might think you do. You don't really. You want the person who actually wants to be there. The person who isn't faking it. And other people want that too. So figure out what it is that you want. And if you don't know, just try a bunch of things and you'll figure it out eventually. And then go for that thing. And if somebody isn't interested, if somebody really doesn't want what you want, great, brilliant. I hope they go and find what they want. So keep in mind the basic formula, talk to a lot of chicks plus be aggressive. I would phrase that as like go for what you want or be honest about what you want. Maybe that's a term that resonates better, depending on what resonates with you, equals get laid. And yeah, the same thing with like making friends. Talk to a lot of people and be your own person and not try and make everybody like you. Be okay with some people not liking you, and then you'll make friends. Statistics are fun in fantasy sports and when comparing different athletes, but you cannot measure your game by how little you get rejected. Yeah, this is what I mean. Like, don't be sitting there playing not to lose. Nobody cares how much you didn't lose. They only care how many goals you scored or how many touchdowns you scored. And again, if we're talking about like getting laid, nobody cares that like 100 women were kind of nice to you and didn't reject you. They only cared, did you have sex? Did you have a great experience? What was the sex life? Did you like her? Did she like you? Did you guys have fun together? Like, what are you guys going to do next? That's what people care about. They don't really give a shit that like 50 girls said, like, didn't say no. Do you guys and girls have any idea I'm someone that's been quite honest and certain about what he wants for quite a while now. I have BDSM pictures in my Tinder profile. Imogen, my girlfriend, we sleep with girls together and date them together and have threesomes. She has BDSM pictures in her profile. We are very fucking honest and very fucking clear about what we want. And then we find the people that want the same thing. We find open-minded, interesting women that are into self-improvement, that want to try BDSM with us, learn threesomes, connect with us, and potentially or preferably have something that's a little more ongoing rather than just like, we sleep together a couple of times. We're looking for something a little more ongoing, and we screen for that. We're very honest about all of that. We literally say all of that on Tinder, and then we repeat it on the first date. We make it very clear what we're looking for, and we find the people that want the same thing. And we're very niche in what we want. It's very niche. But all of the people who don't want that, hey, that's beautiful. I hope you go find your boyfriend. I hope you go find your monogamous relationship. Whatever it is that you're looking for. I really fucking hope you find that. That'd be amazing. I'd be really happy for you. And then I'm going to go and focus on the people that want the same thing that we want and find those people and be a magnet for those people to come towards us, and I guess us towards them as well. And in doing so, a lot of people say no to us. Like, how many people do you think say no to a couple who wants threesomes in BDSM and have been together for like almost 6 years at this point? That is like a very big, not deal breaker, but I guess you could call it a deal breaker. All of those things, or a lot of those things, are very big deal breakers to most women. The vast majority of human beings do not want what we are offering. They don't. Not even remotely. The vast majority of people want monogamy, even on Tinder. And they definitely don't want threesomes and BDSM and you guys have been together for 6 years. No, I feel threatened by that. No, thank you. Like, most people don't, or I'm just not interested in that. Most people don't want that. And so we get significantly more no's compared to before, when I was maybe playing it a little more safe and I didn't have BDSM and I didn't mention the Imogen, because at that point I was just dating casually. So I would sleep with girls outside of Imogen. But I had way more matches back then, but the women that matched with me were way less into me. And so I got rejected a lot less back then. But the highs were also a lot less high. It was less exciting, less passionate, and all of that. Now that I am far more clear and honest about what it is that I want, and Imogen is as well, we get rejected. We're not getting rejected. They just don't want BDSM and threesomes. But we get, quote, rejected way more, like 50 times more than I ever did before. But the women that match are like, oh my God, this is like all of my fantasies all at once. Can you guys please teach me how to be with a woman, how to be with a couple, how to try BDSM? I've wanted this for so long. Can you please mentor me? And oh my God, Andy, you're a life coach as well, and you'll give me advice if I ask for it? Holy shit, yes, please. Where do I sign up? Like, I want this so bad. And so we get rejected, quote, rejected, way more. But we also get a whole lot more yeses and a whole lot more passionate yeses. And we end up with the people that actually want the same thing that we want. We don't have to lie or deceive or hide the truth or pretend to be someone that we're not. So yeah, at the end of the day, does it really matter how many times you don't get rejected? Like, what the fuck does that matter? Are we here to win, or are we here to just like not lose? Oh my God, I stopped the opponents from scoring goals. Yeah, but you scored no goals yourself. You don't win a match by stopping the opponent from scoring any goals. You win a match by scoring more goals than them. If you score 0 goals and make them also score 0 goals because you're so obsessed with not losing, you both get a draw. And so if you're obsessed with not losing, the best you can hope for is a fucking draw. You have to at some point try and kick a goal or try and score a goal. And part of that might mean that you fail. And especially with dating, you might get someone or have someone say, no, thank you. I'm not interested. And that's normal. Approach anxiety is best measured and beaten when you are alone. Since anxiety in general is hard to quantify and very subjective, it's pretty hard to measure. After spending over 2 years picking up women on a regular basis and coaching guys in the field, I have a pretty decent idea of how to measure it and help you beat it. One important thing to remember is you need to measure and desensitize yourself from approach anxiety when you are alone, not when you are with friends, a wingman, or other forms of social support. I want to say I disagree with this, but like, I wouldn't have written this paragraph. So maybe I can say it's not that it's wrong, but like, I personally just have a slightly different opinion. And nothing I'm saying is that Chris is wrong, by the way. I don't believe in like right or wrong. I just believe in like what has worked for me and what has worked for him. So this seems to have worked for him. I personally have found a lot of benefit in my coaching clients going out with friends or wingman, if you want to call it that, or if you're just trying to socialize. Let's say you're a woman and you're trying to socialize. There's a lot of benefit to you just grabbing a friend and saying, hey, do you want to come hiking with me on the weekend with this other group of people that I've never met before? Like, fuck yeah, that shit really helps. Like, yes, at some point, maybe you want to be able to do this stuff on your own. Brilliant, great. But like a really nice segue to get there, a really nice temporary crutch, if you want to call it that, to get there is by taking a friend with you. Take a friend to social events. I think that's one of the best ways, especially with socializing, but also with like talking to women. If you're just socializing, God, take some fucking friends with you. Go on meetup.com and they have a whole bunch of like social events and shit like that you can go to. And if you're too scared to go by yourself, just grab one of your friends and say, will you come with me? And they'll say, yeah, of course. Like, and then you go have a good time together and you at least have like a little safety net. And you can kind of branch out from that. And then eventually you get to a point where you can just go by yourself. So yeah, he goes on to say, first, your anxiety levels will fluctuate. If you're with a bunch of people at a bar and you're drunk and having a good time, your approach anxiety may be artificially low. Yeah, but I still think that's a nice segue to then be able to do it on your own. So I guess we're kind of in agreement that he says eventually, like maybe it's really beneficial to do it on your own. Yeah, I agree with that. I just think that it's a perfectly helpful way to get there if you take some friends. Second, in order to get good with women and good at approaching women or just socializing, you can't rely on other people for emotional support. Like yes and no, but I still think it's a nice way to get there with having a friend there for you. So literally, if you're by yourself and you see a girl at the mall that you want to bang, you're going to have to go talk to her by yourself. If you bring a girl home with you, you have to undress her by yourself. Just get used to doing this stuff by yourself. Yeah, I still think that it's a nice segue, though, having a friend. Like, I still think that's really helpful. I do agree with his statement that, like, yes, at the end of the day, if we're talking about sex, you're probably not going to have your friend there going like, you got this, bro. Just, like, give her a little kissy. Give her a little kiss on the cheek. Oh, she likes that, bro. She giggled. Oh, give her a little. And then the girl's just like, what the fuck is, like, your friend doing here? Or maybe she's into it. I'm not one to kink shame. But yeah, I think it's a really helpful segue to have a friend. So do whatever you want at the end of the day. There's no right or wrong answer. Do it by yourself if that's important to you. Take a friend out if that's important to you. But I think both of those are just two pathways to the same destination. When helping students beat approach anxiety, we often work together but formulate a plan to make sure they can permanently decrease their approach anxiety. Social anxiety is different from approach anxiety. Yeah, it's like very similar though. Approach anxiety is a form of social anxiety, but they aren't quite the same. Make no mistake about it, it takes legitimate balls or social courage to approach women. It doesn't take as much balls or social courage to just be part of a social situation. Yes. Some dating advice or gurus try to help you combat your social anxiety to help you get better with women. While the intention may be noble, social anxiety and approach anxiety aren't the same thing, they're only slightly related. Most people will have much higher levels of approach anxiety than social anxiety. Even people that don't have a lot of social anxiety can have a high level of approach anxiety. Yeah. Here's an example. I have a friend that acts like a total lunatic in public. He's extroverted beyond belief, constantly draws attention to himself, but he's scared to death to approach a hottie that's by herself at the grocery store. In order to overcome approach anxiety, you need to focus on overcoming approach anxiety. I will say though, like I said, I think it's a nice little segue to get there by going and being more social. Like, the more social you can be, that definitely makes it easier to then talk to the opposite sex. We've had quite a few coaching clients who come to us and are incredibly social people. Like, they do what I do. They just talk to random strangers when they're outside. They're friends with everybody, or it seems like they're friends with everybody. And getting those guys to then start actually hitting on women properly is so fucking easy. Like, some of them have approach anxiety like crazy, of course, but it's like, it's such an easy transition to say, well, I already talk to human beings that I don't know all the time. Now I'm just talking to a human being that happens to be a woman. Like, nothing is different. And it's so easy for us to say, okay, the way that you talk to strangers, where you'll just start a conversation, do that with women, do that 20 times. And they'll come back a couple days later and they'll be like, okay, I did that 20 times. And we'll go, great. Now, when you do that, do the same thing, but then at the end of the conversation, just be like, by the way, I really like chatting to you. Do you want to grab a drink sometime? Can I get your number? Boom. And for those guys that are already like really social, they find it 10 billion times easier than the introvert. So maybe that's something that I'd say, like, I get where Chris is coming from here, but I would add the extra caveat and say, like, if you are someone who's super social, it can be like way easier versus the guy who's like super introverted and never talks to anybody. Because the person that's super introverted and shy and never talks to anybody now has to overcome almost 2 layers to this thing. First, they have to actually have a conversation, which is something they probably haven't practiced a lot, which is like scare or can be scary. And then on top of that, they have to like ask for her number. And so it's almost like they're overcoming 2 hurdles. So I definitely think being social helps, but I completely understand with what he's saying. He's like, he's basically saying, in order to actually hit on women, you have to actually hit on women. I 100% agree with that there. 100% agree. I've gotten to a point where I have more social anxiety than approach anxiety. It's weird to go to bars and clubs and not hit on chicks. I don't have much of either now, though. This is a huge change. I never thought I'd get to this point. I had a lot of approach anxiety and was a huge pussy. I admit it. I don't think he was a pussy. I don't think you're a pussy if you like have approach anxiety. I think you're a human being. Consistent exposure therapy works to combat approach anxiety. The key to combating approach anxiety and a lot of anxiety in general is consistent exposure therapy. Absolutely. When I was fighting approach anxiety and learning to pick up chicks, I would go out 4 or 5 times a week and probably hit on 15 or 20 girls a day. That's wild. That's about how many I was hitting on a week. That's really good. And I had some days where I did talk to like 15 women, but like for the most part, I was talking to an average of, 15 to 20 a week. The one thing that I had was I got to a point where I was relatively consistent. And so if you can be consistent, I think that matters more than like, and Good Looking Loser talks about this too. It matters more than like, or it helps you more than having one day a week where you talk to like 50 girls. Like I would prefer you to talk to 2 girls a day every single day of the week, which is only 14 girls a week. I would prefer that over you go out once a week and talk to 50 girls. It's just easier if you can be consistent. People say the same about the gym. I'd rather you go to the gym 4 days a week or 5 days a week for half an hour versus like you go once a week on the weekend for 6 hours. Like consistency really helps. Not just for momentum, but also for, you get better results because you don't have to work yourself up and really pump yourself up. I would go out 4 or 5 times when Scotty was first really getting good with the experience and results. And Scotty's just another guy that contributed to this Good Looking Loser website. He was going out 7 days a week and aggressively hitting on up to 50 girls at a time. Sometimes, and by the way, Scotty has his own YouTube channel. You can just search for Brian Harris, and he's still making videos and shorts and stuff like that. He's a great guy. I've had him on my podcast a couple of times. I like Scotty a lot, or Brian is his real name, but he goes by Scotty. So Brian Harris on YouTube. Hitting on 50 girls at a time. Sometimes the hardest part is just starting and getting moving. That's what we're here for. And then these links don't work, by the way. That used to be his like link to his anxiety program. But ultimately, you will need to take consistent. I guess that's meant to be consistent again to really overcome approach anxiety. So yeah, as he says, like consistency. Consistency really helps. And don't beat yourself up if you're not perfectly consistent. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. And then he's got a random photo. This is funny to me. Okay. So back in the day, people used to like is it stealing? I don't know, whatever. Use like stock photography from like Photo Bucket and all those kind of like similar ones to that, and they just leave the watermark on and they just be like, look, I used this image. These days, like stock photography is so fucking insanely cheap. It's like $5 a month for like unlimited images. Like if you give a shit, there's one that I use that's called Envato, Envato, and their product is called Elements by Envato. And I pay like fucking like $5 a month or $10 a month. And I get like unlimited videos, unlimited like photos. And there's like a lot of photos and like really niche photos too. Like I use some of their BDSM ones. They've got like thousands of BDSM photos, really tasteful ones that I can use like in my thumbnails on YouTube and shit like that. And so you don't really see this much anymore, like other than like in memes and stuff like that. But yeah. Reminds me of the good old days of the internet when everyone had a Photo Bucket watermark on their images. This girl's got nice boobies. Let's play with her nipples. Boop, 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 boop. I'm clicking on the nipples. Boop, boop, boop. She likes that. She says, thank you, Andy. All right, fucking hell. My personal struggle with approach anxiety. I wasn't going to read this out, but whatever. This is almost the end of the article. Let's read it. Let's blast through this. Let's hear about Good Looking Loser's personal struggle with approach anxiety. My first experience with approach anxiety was when I was 18 years old. It was probably the very first time ever that I approached a group of girls. I was at a bar in Washington, D.C. I saw 3 girls at the corner of the bar. They had their backs turned to everyone, and one girl was having a bad night. Oh, why was she having a bad night? Give her a little cuddle, give her a little kiss on the forehead and say, "It's okay, sweetie." After 25 minutes of psyching myself up or psyching myself out, I walked over to them and said something non-intrusive and lame like, "Hey, girls' night out?" That's not lame. I think that's cute. I fucking respect the balls of anyone who's able to approach someone at all, no matter what they say. The ugly, troubled girl from the group yelled at me, "We aren't talking to you." Oh, I think she was having a bad night too. I got mad and called her ugly. That's okay. Yeah, it's funny the emotions that we have. Hey, like, I've had some clients say that too, where they're like, "Man, I worked up all the courage to talk to this girl, and then she was mean to me, and then I said like, fuck you, and then I ran away, and then I felt really bad for yelling at her." And it's like, it's okay, it's okay. Like, you had a lot of emotions. She probably did too. It's okay. Like, don't stress. Her friends even apologized to me. Although I was happy at the time that I had the courage to approach them, later on I got really discouraged with myself, and that incident really scarred me for another 6 or 7 years. Yeah, I've seen some guys do that, where they like walk up to a girl and they have like 1 or 2, they're not even bad experiences. Although if you go out at night to bars and stuff and someone's clearly having a bad night, like, yeah, like at bars, I will be honest, at bars and clubs, people aren't always super nice. Like whenever I say like people are super nice, I'm usually talking about when they're not on drugs, and alcohol is a drug. And so, yeah, people, they're doing their best, but sometimes on alcohol, people might not be super kind. So every time I say people are nice and women will be nice, I'm particularly talking about during the daytime. You're not going to get yelled at and told to fuck off, generally speaking, during the daytime. But it made me scared of rejection, and I only approached really safe groups of girls after that. Even that's like completely normal. I must have replayed that silly incident 300 times in my head. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to take a slight tangent here. Byron Katie, who's one of my favorite authors, talks about this, where she goes like, often we will replay an event that happened to us and we'll go like, "Man, that person like was so mean to me. This girl was like, she broke my heart." Like in this case, this girl really upset me. It's like, no, she said something to you once. She was mean to you once, and you were mean to yourself, and you weren't doing it on purpose, but like you were mean to yourself 300 times. And so she hurt you once, but you hurt yourself 300 times, and you were doing your best. Like you weren't doing it intentionally, but like we replay incidents and we build them up and we hurt ourselves over and over and over again. It's why letting go of some of these things or doing the work on them and processing them can be really helpful, because we have an event that's like 5 minutes of me being hurt. Maybe someone bullied you in high school. I was bullied in high school a lot. And I've seen people hang on to that until they're like, 20 or 30 years old. And it's like, okay, this person bullied you maybe like 50 times in total, maybe 100 times if you were really badly bullied. And you've replayed that how many times? And they say, well, maybe like 10,000 times. And it's like, so who's bullied whom? They bullied you 100 times. You bullied yourself 10,000 times. When I say bully, because we often replay it, we don't just replay the event. If we did that, fine, you're just replaying the event. But you replay it and beat yourself up. You say, "Why am I such a pussy? I shouldn't have been so fucking lame. Why did I put up with this? What the fuck is wrong with me?" It's like, now you're bullying yourself. And again, you're doing your best. You're not doing it intentionally. And I've beaten myself up a million times in the past too. Like that's called being a human being. But if the other person did it to you a couple of times and you replayed it 10,000 times, it's like, who's hurt who more? So the funny thing is, I've never had a rejection that much worse than that night, and I knew it wasn't my fault. The girl was having a bad night, yeah. I think I've only ever had like 1 or 2 times when a girl was actually really mean to me. Like she said like, "Fuck off." Like, and even then it's not mean to me. It's just she's having a bad day. Like that shit's really rare, like really rare. And as he even says, like she was having a bad night, and her friends even apologized, yeah. When I started getting serious at really trying to improve my sex life in 2007, I still had approach anxiety, but I was determined to beat it. I would go out with friends that were really supportive and were kind of just in awe that I could approach girls that I didn't know. This is why I said, like, I think, yeah, this made it a lot easier. This is what I'm talking about. So, like I said, I think it really helps to have some friends go out with you, whether that's for socializing or talking to women, whatever it is. I think it's beneficial to have friends. You don't have to, but like I think it's beneficial. Yes, at some point you probably want to transition to doing it by yourself a little bit, but you can take baby steps with that. I've done that with some of my clients, by the way. I've taken some clients out in person and we walk around. I get them to just say hi to some women. And I do that with them. Like I'm walking around with them. I'm giving them a pep talk. I don't go and stand with them when they're talking to a woman, but like I'll push them, like sometimes physically push them. I'll be like, you got this, go, 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 you got this. And they'll go and do it. And then I'll slowly transition, like almost like taking the training wheels off so that they don't need me anymore. And what I like to do with this, my favorite thing to do is I will say to them, all right, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to sit on this couch or this chair right here at this bench, and you're going to go off wherever you want, walk around the entire shopping mall. Like I won't be near you. I'd prefer it if I couldn't even see you. Go away for 10 minutes. I'm going to set my stopwatch for 10 minutes. I want you to set yours for 10 minutes too. Go away for 10 minutes and just try and do it. And then come back to me and then we'll talk about it and we'll walk around for a little bit and then we'll do another 10 minutes. And sometimes we have to do a couple of these different rounds. And then finally we have a 10-minute period where they go away, they come back and they go, oh my God, I did it. I did one. I did one by myself. And so I'm still kind of there. I'm still there for moral support. I'm just distancing myself more and more. And then we'll have a period where I'm like, okay, I'm going to now sit here for 30 minutes. I'm going to go get some lunch or something. You're going to go off for 30 minutes without me. And you're going to be completely on your own. And then you come back. And we just make that period longer and longer until eventually I have a point where I go, okay, now I'm going to go home. We're done for the day, but I want you to stay out for the next 3 hours and try and do some yourself. You've had all the momentum of me, pushing you with you right here. Now go do this yourself. So I think you can have a nice transition period. And I think that's why I say it's really helpful having friends. And again, you don't need friends. Don't do it if you don't want to, but it can be helpful. Plus, I had some really good material that was pretty funny and that I believed in. Since it wasn't aggressive material, I wasn't getting laid, but girls would react positively and my confidence grew. Yeah, I believe back then he wasn't even asking girls for their phone number and stuff like that. It's a bit hard to meet up with someone if you don't have their phone number, but like, as he said, he was growing his confidence. And by the way, like, if you're not even asking people for their phone number, if you're just walking up to people and like approaching them or even just giving them compliments or just talking to people, massive respect for that. That's incredible. Like most people don't talk to people they don't know. Then I started going out alone and hitting on girls during the day, just asking them for their Facebook or email. It was pretty safe. I still wasn't getting laid from it, but my confidence was growing. That's awesome. Soon enough, I pushed things a little more and I started taking phone numbers. The whole process was about 11 months to beat my approach anxiety. It could have happened a lot quicker if I'd pushed myself harder, but it was a good experience and I was proud of my success. That sounds amazing, yeah. Incredible confidence, incredible balls. By the time I moved to Los Angeles in 2009, I'd pretty much no approach anxiety. I just needed to be more aggressive. Whereas I said, you can phrase that if it makes more sense to you as like to just be more honest about what you want. We train a lot of students, and our number one focus is killing their approach anxiety. Anxiety prevents you from having social courage or balls. If you don't have balls, you won't get laid, let alone get phone numbers. I would slightly add a caveat to that, and I would say, like, it's fine if you don't have balls. You just have to talk to some women and say hello. Like, I disagree with this bit here, you won't get laid. I would rephrase that as, like, you won't get laid as much. But, like, not every guy wants to go out there and have sex with 100 women. Some people just want to be able to talk to a few women, have a bit of sex, improve their sex life, get better at this, get a bit more confident. And so, yeah, I'd slightly tweak that sentence to, I wouldn't say like, if you don't have balls, you're not going to get laid. It's like, look, if you don't have massive balls, that's okay. Just start slow, as Chris himself did. And like, you'll increase in time. Same with anything. Like if you're, trying to lose weight in the gym, it's like, you don't have to like have discipline and be massive balls and all of that. Just go to the gym a little bit and just start slow, baby steps. You'll slowly improve over time. If it takes you 2 years to beat approach anxiety, it's worth it. So he even says basically what I just said then. Yeah, like take your time with this. Go as quick or as slow as you want, and don't compare yourself to others. Don't look at someone else and go, well, this person only took 3 months to be able to go out there and just talk to anyone they want, and I'm still 6 months into it and I can't do this yet. It's like, that's okay. Like we all live life at our own pace. Social courage is your foundation to approaching and banging hot girls and to live life on your terms. Emotional and psychological independence has nearly infinite rewards. If we work with you, we'll do everything in our power to help you beat approach anxiety. And by the way, he doesn't offer coaching anymore. Like, if that wasn't clear, he's moved on like a long time ago, like 5 or 10 years ago. We also use and recommend certain anti-anxiety supplements and herbals that will kill your approach and general anxiety. You'd be surprised. For more discussion and personal stories about beating your approach anxiety, check out Good Looking Loser Approach Anxiety. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I say this basically every time I do one of these videos. I will always be super grateful to Chris and Good Looking Loser and the forums that they had on there, which aren't really used anymore, but I will be super grateful for that period of my life, for him, for all that he taught me, for all that he helped me with. I think more than anything, he gave me two things. He gave me permission to go for the things that I wanted in life, and everything that I've built and everything I've done since then, I don't know if those things would exist without him. And I will always be super grateful to him for that, for just giving me that permission to live the life I want to live. And I try and show this off sometimes. It's going to be a little hard to see, whatever, but like I have here a little duck tattoo, and it signifies my period in the approach anxiety program. I went through one of his approach anxiety programs and learned how to talk to women and all of that. And at the very top, I know it's really hard to see here, but there's a little logo on the top of his hat, which is the Good Looking Loser logo. So I literally have the Good Looking Loser logo tattooed on my skin permanently, because it was such an important part of my life. It was really, really, really a very meaningful part of my life. And I'll always be grateful to him for that. I will also always be grateful to him for the general feel of his website. And it's something I try to get across in my content too. A lot of it does come from him. I very much got the sense that his blog was there to tell me everything is okay and everything will be okay. In other words, you're going to make it, kid. And I really needed to hear that, because when I first found his website, I had just come out of my second unhappy relationship, and I was 28, and I was at a point in my life where I was like, there's no hope for me. I have zero friends. I literally had zero friends. I don't have a girlfriend anymore. I'd been through all of this depression and stuff in my 20s, and now I'm 28, and it felt like, great, I've just repeated the same mistakes and gotten into another relationship for 4 years where, there were plenty of happy moments, but there was also plenty of not so happy moments. And I felt like I was so close to my 30s, they were approaching. I was 28, and I had no money as well. I didn't really have much of anything. And I felt like a complete train wreck of a human being. And I was like, what's the point? Like, I have no muscle. I don't like my body. I have no friends. I have no money. I have no sex life. I have no relationship. I have zero. I guess the only thing I have is this job and I guess this apartment. But that's it. And my family are, 5,000 miles across the other side of the country. Like, I literally am just at a loss for what to do. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm basically starting my life from fresh at 28, the point where most people have, or I had the idea that most people have their shit together. And his website gave me a purpose. At first, it was like, all right, improve yourself and just get laid. And through that, it was then, okay, well, like, what if I don't just get laid? What if I make these women's lives a little bit better? The people that I sleep with, what if I mentor them? What if I give them some advice? What if I'm just nice to them? What if we have great sexual experiences together? And then I got into BDSM. Then I got into starting my own coaching and all of this. Then I found, or part of that journey was I found the community. He had a strong community back then, on his forums. And I slowly got my life together. And again, most of that is because of his website. And I will always be deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for that. And words will never be able to say that. And I'm very grateful that I got to say these words to him. We had a sort of like back and forwards in Twitter, like in DMs. And I'm very glad that I got to say all this to him. And he said some nice things back. And that was really nice to hear. So I will always be super grateful to Good Looking Loser, Chris from Good Looking Loser. I'll also be grateful to Scotty from the same website. Again, he's on YouTube at Brian Harris, and Good Looking Loser is on YouTube. You can just search for Good Looking Loser. So super grateful to both of them, especially Chris. He was the one that wrote most of the articles. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. I hope this was helpful. I like revisiting these things, these articles. Like I said, his website's been down for a while, so I'll keep revisiting these and adding little bits and pieces, and I guess just expressing my gratitude. So I hope this was helpful. As I said before, this is the second last day, one more day left of the coaching deal that I have. So 18 weeks if you sign up and pay in full. As always, ladies and gentlemen, go out there and crush your goals. Oh, and I will run I've done a couple of like pre-made videos to talk about the coaching. So I'll run that now. I'm going to stick that at the end of some of my videos. I put a little bit of effort into these. I think they look pretty decent. They're first draft so I can improve them over time. But let me know what you think. Let's run the fucking coaching ad, I guess. If you've been wanting an amazing, awesome, elite sex life, tons of threesomes, plenty of wild adventures, and great memories with awesome people, we would love to help you get there. Here's just a little bit of what our coaching clients have achieved in their time in the program. Renee had a threesome in just his second week of coaching, had a woman write him a love letter, and he went on to have sex with 12 women in just 12 weeks of coaching. Corky had his first threesome, slept with 7 amazing women, and made a ton of awesome memories with them. George and Powell both had sex with 10 women each in their 12 weeks, had a bunch of wild adventures along the way. Join me and join them by clicking the coaching link in the description below.